Have you ever been erased from your own family's memory until one letter changes everything? This is my story. My name is Megan, and at 35 years old, I discovered that being forgotten wasn't the end of my journey, it was just the beginning. I grew up in the shadow of a wealthy and influential family where success was measured by titles, bank accounts, and appearances. My parents were obsessed with maintaining their status, and I was the black sheep. While my siblings excelled in prestigious careers and social circles, I chose a quieter path working as a teacher in underprivileged communities. My parents never understood why I would waste my potential on people who couldn't offer anything in return. To them, I was invisible. From an early age, I learned to suppress my dreams and ambitions because they didn't align with what my parents considered valuable. They wanted me to attend Ivy League schools, marry into another wealthy family, and contribute to the family business. But I had different ideas. I found joy in teaching children who came from broken homes, kids who reminded me of myself, lost, searching for meaning, and desperate for someone to believe in them. My father, Richard, often criticized my choices during family gatherings. "Megan," he'd say with a condescending smirk, "you could have been so much more. Instead, you waste your life on charity cases." His words stung, but I refused to let him define me. Still, over time, the constant rejection wore me down. I began avoiding family events altogether, finding solace in my work and the small community I served. But there was one person who always saw me: my grandmother, Eleanor. She was the only one who truly valued my choices and supported my passion for making a difference. We spent countless afternoons talking about life, love, and the importance of leaving a meaningful legacy. Unlike my parents, Eleanor believed that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars but in the impact we had on others. Eleanor often shared stories about her own struggles growing up in poverty. She told me how she worked tirelessly to build a better life for herself and her family, only to realize later that material success came with its own set of challenges. "Money can buy comfort," she once said, "but it can't buy purpose. That's something you have to create for yourself." Her wisdom resonated deeply with me. Whenever I felt discouraged by my parents' disapproval, I turned to Eleanor for guidance. She reminded me that my worth wasn't determined by their opinions but by the lives I touched through my work. When Eleanor passed away last year, I felt like I had lost my last ally in the family. Her absence left a void I didn't know how to fill. Little did I know, her final gift to me would change everything. A few weeks after her death, I received a letter from her lawyer summoning me to read her will. The meeting took place in a grand office filled with mahogany furniture and shelves lined with legal books. My parents and siblings were already seated when I arrived, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. I could feel their judgment without them saying a word. The lawyer cleared his throat and began, "Thank you all for being here today. Mrs. Eleanor left specific instructions regarding the distribution of her estate." He paused, scanning the room before continuing, "To Megan, she leaves her primary residence, the family mansion, and a collection of personal documents stored in a secure vault." Gasps erupted around the table. My mother frowned, visibly irritated. "That house is worth millions. Why would she leave it to her?" I clenched my fists under the table, trying to stay calm. "Maybe because she actually cared about me," I shot back, my voice trembling with emotion. The lawyer raised a hand to quiet everyone. "There's more." Mrs. Eleanor also included a handwritten note for Megan to read aloud after the will is finalized. "Would you like to proceed?" I nodded, still processing what had just happened. The lawyer handed me an envelope sealed with wax. With shaking hands, I opened it and began to read. My dearest Megan, if you're reading this, it means I've moved on to a better place. Before I go any further, let me tell you how proud I am of the woman you've become. You've chosen a life of purpose over privilege, and that takes courage, a quality I wish more of our family possessed. Unfortunately, I've also uncovered some painful truths about our family that I can no longer ignore. Enclosed in the vault are documents detailing betrayals, lies, and scandals that have been hidden for generations. These secrets have shaped our family's history, but they don't have to define its future. Megan, I'm trusting you to decide what to do with this information. You can expose the truth, rewrite our legacy, or simply walk away. Whatever you choose, know that I believe in you. With all my love, Eleanor. Silence filled the room as I lowered the letter. My parents exchanged nervous glances, while my siblings shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The weight of what my grandmother had entrusted to me was overwhelming but also liberating. After the meeting, I visited the vault with the lawyer. Inside, I found boxes upon boxes of letters, photographs, and financial records. As I sifted through the contents, I realized the extent of the corruption and deceit within my family. Affairs, embezzlement, even cover-ups of criminal activities. It was all there, meticulously documented. One file caught my attention, a series of emails between my father and a business partner, discussing illegal deals. Another folder contained evidence of my mother's affair with a prominent politician decades ago, an affair that resulted in a child she abandoned shortly after birth. The revelations were shocking, but they explained so much about the dysfunction in our family. For days, I wrestled with what to do. Part of me wanted to expose everything, to force my family to confront the consequences of their actions. I imagined walking into a press conference, holding up the documents, and watching the media tear apart the carefully constructed facade of perfection my family had built. It would be poetic justice, wouldn't it, to see them humiliated for the pain they caused others, including me. But another part of me knew that revenge wouldn't bring peace. Exposing the truth might feel satisfying in the moment, but it wouldn't heal the wounds or restore the relationships that had been broken long before I was born. Instead, I decided to use the mansion and the resources my grandmother left me to create something positive. I transformed the mansion into a cultural center dedicated to education and the arts, a tribute to my grandmother's belief in the power of community and creativity. I hired local artists to design murals for the walls, installed a library stocked with books donated by friends and supporters, and converted the ballroom into a performance space for concerts and workshops. Every corner of the mansion was infused with meaning, a reflection of the values Eleanor had instilled in me. I also donated a portion of the funds to scholarships for students from underserved backgrounds, ensuring that Eleanor's legacy would live on through their achievements. Each scholarship recipient received not only financial support but also mentorship opportunities to help them navigate challenges similar to those I faced. I wanted these young people to know that their circumstances didn't define them, that they had the power to rewrite their own stories, just as I was rewriting mine. When my family learned of my decision, they were furious. My father accused me of wasting the inheritance, while my mother called me ungrateful. "Do you have any idea what you've thrown away?" my father shouted during one particularly heated argument. "You could have had everything: money, influence, security. Instead, You squandered it on strangers. His words cut deep, but they didn't shake my resolve. I looked him straight in the eye and said, maybe I didn't want what you consider everything. Maybe I wanted something real. Deep down, I knew I had made the right choice. For the first time in my life, I felt seen not for what I owned, but for who I was. The approval of my parents and siblings no longer mattered, because I had found validation in the eyes of the people whose lives I touched. The children who played in the gardens of the cultural center, the artists who painted murals on the walls, the students who received scholarships. They saw me, and that was enough. Looking back, I realized that my grandmother didn't just leave me a fortune. She gave me a mission. She taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the impact we have on others. And though my family may never understand, I've found a sense of purpose that no amount of money could buy. Eleanor's gift wasn't just the mansion or the documents, it was the freedom to choose who I wanted to be and the courage to stand by that choice, even when it meant standing alone. If you're watching this and feeling invisible, remember, your value isn't determined by those who overlook you. Sometimes, the greatest legacies are built not by inheriting wealth, but by creating meaning. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for more inspiring stories, and let's rewrite our legacies together.